It was raining. Of course it was. Baltimore had a way of making grief feel personal, like even the clouds took sides. The gray sky hung low over the Delane estate, marble pillars, blacked-out town cars, hired mourners. I stood at the back of the crowd, water seeping through my heels into the grass. No one noticed. I wasn't dressed like a Delane. I was dressed like the help. He always said you were his softest regret, Aunt Cecilia muttered, not looking at me. Soft. Not mistake. Not shame. Just soft. I bit down the bile. The priest mumbled something about legacy. Ethan stood front and center, hand resting on her mother's back, nodding like a senator in training. Blythe dabbed fake tears with a Dior handkerchief. Not a smear in sight. I scanned the rows, lawyers, clients, donors. Strangers who pretended to love my father more than his daughter ever could. After the burial, the real show began. Conference room, Delane Law Offices. 12 chairs, 10 filled, 1 left for the deceased. And me, squeezed between a tax advisor and a woman named Trish who once sued our company over asbestos in the warehouse. Now, she handled estate litigation. Ironic. Mr. Harrow, the family attorney, opened the envelope like it was a bomb. Maybe it was. To my eldest son, Ethan Charles Delane, I leave Delane Freight Group, the estate, and all holding accounts under Trust 78F. I didn't hear the rest. My name came last. To my daughter, Joey Lynn Delane, I leave my confidence. May she earn the rest as she earns her name. My hand didn't shake. My breath didn't break. But inside me, something ruptured. Not because of the inheritance. Not because I was left out. But because I knew he lied. The night before he died, Dad whispered something else. You'll get what's yours. Just stay quiet. Watch, Ethan. I watched, and what I saw buried beneath his signature was filth. Later, when everyone was fake laughing over champagne flutes and legacy wine, I stepped out onto the terrace. You okay? Came a voice behind me. It was Chase Rollins, Ethan's shadow, our new CFO. I didn't answer, just stared into the city lights. Chase lit a cigarette, despite the no smoking sign. You know what your dad once told me, he asked. Trust is like glass. Once cracked, you either throw it out or learn to bleed. He exhaled. Don't bleed for them, Joey. I turned to him. I won't, but they might. When I got home, something waited for me. An unmarked envelope slid under my apartment door. Inside a photo, a blurry screenshot of a transfer. 6 digits. An account name. Not mine. Ethan's. And the timestamp? 2 days before Dad died. I blinked. The caption under the printout was handwritten, rushed, ink smudged from pressure. This money wasn't his to take. Follow it. My hands trembled for the first time that day. And for the first time in years I smiled. Because someone else was watching too. The screenshot haunted me. It wasn't just the 6-figure transfer. It was the name on the receiving end. Nolan C. Delane. A shadow account hidden beneath layers of offshore shells. Cayman Islands. Numbered routing. And yet my father once told me, paper always leaves a trail. Even when it burns, the ash remembers. I stared at the printout until the ink blurred. Then I memorized it. Every digit. Every timestamp. Burned it in my sink. If this was real, if Ethan was already moving money before the will, he wasn't just inheriting. He was stealing. And someone wanted me to know. My fingers hovered over my laptop. AMC Capital. Dad's largest acquisition 2 years ago. Ethan was put in charge of strategic realignments. A vague title that covered a lot of dirt. I remembered one headline. SEC eyes Delane Freight's Cayman dealings. It vanished in days. Buried. I cracked my knuckles. Then typed. AMC internal transaction ledger. Restricted. Access denied. I tried the old override Dad taught me when I was 16. Access granted. Click. Thousands of entries scrolled past. One caught my eye. Transfer ID. 9981X, AMC to Nolan C. Delane, $642,000. Consulting restructure fee, April 8th, 3:12 a.m. 2 days before Dad died. That's not a restructure. That's laundering. A dull thud from my window made me flinch. I turned. Nothing. Just the empty alley behind my apartment. Still, I checked the locks. Old habit. Truth is, I felt watched since the funeral. Not followed, observed. Like eyes that knew too much, but said too little. Midnight. I called someone I hadn't spoken to in 4 years. Joey. Halston, I need a trace. He exhaled. Still charming as hell. 6-digit transfer from AMC's internal ledger. I'll send the ID. Illegal. I didn't answer. He chuckled. Text it. I'll run it through my sandbox. Click. 12 minutes later, it's legit, but not on the books. Someone built a side channel. Encrypted shell. Who the hell are you chasing? I stared at the blinking cursor. I didn't know yet. Next morning, I showed up at Delane HQ at 7:01 a.m. Unannounced. Badge still worked. I walked straight past security. Nobody questions the girl who looks like she belongs but doesn't make eye contact. Ethan's office was locked. I stood there a moment, listened. Empty. Then I picked the lock. Dad taught me with hairpins. Said if I couldn't open a door, I'd never earn my last name. Inside, everything was perfect. Too perfect. Desk wiped clean. Drawers empty. Only one thing left. A file on the credenza labeled AMC Quarterly Private. I opened it. Fake invoices. Dummy consultants. All pointing to the same account. Same date. Same signature. E. Delane. Someone covered this up. Voice behind me. I froze. Turned. Chase Rollins stood in the doorway. Tie loose. Coffee in hand. Not surprised. You knew, I said. He stepped inside. Closed the door. I suspected. Why? Because rich men don't die clean. They leave stains. I swallowed. He walked over. Picked up the file. This could kill Ethan's career. Or save mine. He looked at me. Long hard. Be careful, Joey. You're not the only one digging. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. One text. Stop. Or the next file goes public. You know which one. Attached a blurred image. Me. At 17. Holding a gun. Crying. My chest froze. That file was sealed. Juvenile. Buried. How did they have it? I looked at Chase. He was already reading over my shoulder. Eyes wide. You told me it was a rumor, he whispered. It was. I lied. His jaw clenched. Then they're serious. This isn't just inheritance anymore. This is war. I picked up the folder. My hand shook. They want me to stop, I said. So will you? I walked to the door. No. Because some truths don't stay buried. They just wait to be found. I didn't sleep. The threat, you know which file, kept replaying in my head like a broken record. 17. The gun. The blood. The file sealed in a state archive under my father's name, locked with a judge's order and a bribe no one ever admitted. Who the hell had it now? I paced my apartment. The window blinds stayed shut. Phone off. Lights dimmed. The hum of the fridge was too loud. At 2:07 a.m. I left. No car. Just my boots and adrenaline. Cold air slapped my face as I cut through back alleys off Eastern Avenue, past shuttered diners and glowing pawn shops. I needed distance. Movement. You think better when your blood's moving. Or maybe it just keeps the fear from taking over. A line Dad used to say echoed in my head. Power doesn't corrupt. It reveals. What you do when no one's looking. That's who you really are. I ended up at the only place that still felt real. Storage Unit 146. East Harbor Self-Storage. Dad's name was still on the lease. He always called it his quiet corner. I cracked open the roll-up door. Dust, paper, metal filing cabinets, old monitors, a framed baseball card, a coat I hadn't seen since I was 12. And then at the very back, the black case. It looked like a toolkit. Heavy. Fingerprint scanner. I pressed my thumb. Nothing. Then my left index. Click. Inside a hard drive. Encrypted. Labeled Orpheus. Dad's code name for classified. He had a thing for mythology. I shoved it into my backpack. Someone behind me cleared their throat. Ispoon. A man stood at the entrance. Hands up. Leather jacket. Scar under his right eye. Calm, like he'd been waiting. Joey Delane, he said. You're harder to find than I expected. Depends on who's asking. I'm not law enforcement. Not comforting. He stepped forward. Slow. Measured. My name's Noah Quaid. I worked with your father. Independent investigator. Private or paranoid? He didn't smile. Depends who's listening. I held my ground. You sent the envelope. No, but I'm not surprised someone did. Your father made enemies. Quiet ones. I narrowed my eyes. Why are you here? To finish what he started. Or at least stop what he couldn't. He handed me a thumb drive. Plug it in when you get home. Or don't. But the people watching you, they're not bluffing. My phone buzzed. I looked down. Unknown number. You should have stayed out. Attached a live photo. Me. Standing in the unit. Taken from across the street. Timestamp. 30 seconds ago. I looked up. Noah was already moving. Run. We sprinted into the night. Cut scene. Dark alley. A black SUV peeled around the corner. No plates. We ducked into an old maintenance tunnel. Rusted pipes. Flickering lights. Breaths loud. Shoes slipping on wet concrete. At the far end, stairs. Emergency exit. Go. Noah hissed. We crashed through a metal door. Sirens in the distance. Not for us. Not yet. Outside, under the cover of the pier, we stopped. Gasping. Noah looked at me. You don't know half of it. So tell me. He pulled out a folded document. Your father's will wasn't final. My heart paused. What? He changed it 3 days before he died. But the copy submitted was older. Someone forged the date. Swapped the files. I stared at him. You're saying the will was faked? He nodded. And guess who notarized the fake one? Leo Carter. My voice cracked. My father's personal attorney. My godfather. Yeah. Noah stepped back. It's not just Ethan. It's the whole board. AMC. Leo. Maybe even Madeline Kane. Ethan's ex. She came back 2 weeks before Frank died. Took a seat on the board last Monday. And guess what? She's already pushing to liquidate overseas assets. I blinked. That's why they want you gone, he added. I gritted my teeth. No more running. We watched the sunrise from a rooftop overlooking the harbor. Sky bleeding gold into gray. Cold wind slicing our faces. Noah handed me a burner phone. Tomorrow night, Warehouse 61. I'll show you how far this goes. And if I don't come, they'll make sure you don't come to anything again. I nodded once. Because sometimes revenge isn't loud. It's calculated, cold, and crawling through the cracks until it rots everything from the inside out. Madeline didn't just return for business. She returned to finish what she started. Warehouse 61 sat at the edge of the Baltimore docks like a rusted lung. Big, hollow, full of echoes. Noah walked ahead of me, flashlight cutting through the dark. Each footstep rang like someone else was following, breathing with us, watching. Your father used to say a secret's only safe when everyone who knows it is dead, Noah muttered. Comforting. True. Cut scene. Inside, the warehouse was colder than outside. Air sharp with salt and old oil. Noah led me past crates, broken pallets, a forklift that looked like it hadn't moved since the Clinton administration. At the center, a metal table. One object on top. A medical folder. My pulse kicked. What is that? Noah didn't touch it. Your father's toxicology. I froze. He died of a stroke. Noah shook his head. That's what the board filed. He clicked on a portable scanner, projecting grainy lab results onto the wall. Numbers, levels, spikes. This, he pointed, is midazolam, a sedative strong enough to mimic a stroke if overdosed subtly. Hard to trace unless the lab is looking for it. And they weren't. You're saying someone drugged him? No, his jaw tightened. I'm saying someone killed him. The wall hummed with the projector's glow. Dust floated like snow. My chest hollowed out. Dad wasn't perfect. But murder? That wasn't business. That was personal. Noah flipped to another page. A signature glared up at me. Leo Carter. Witnessing physician. Approver of death documentation. My stomach twisted. My godfather. My father's closest friend. The same man who signed the estate documents after the funeral. A man who once told me, loyalty is the only real currency. Everything else inflates. I stepped back. He wasn't on it. Or covering for the person who was. A clang in the rafters. I whipped around. Flashlight beam jittered across steel beams. Someone's here, I whispered. Noah lowered the projector instantly. Dark swallowed us whole. We hid behind stacked crates. Heavy boots hit the concrete. Slow. Deliberate. Not security. Not a dock worker. This was someone who already knew we were inside. Noah mouthed one man. I nodded. Bootsteps stopped near the table. A faint click. Metal. A phone camera. He was photographing the folder. Then a voice. Low. Familiar. The kind of voice that wore a suit even in the dark. Ethan. You shouldn't have come back, Dad, he muttered to himself. You should have just signed the merger. He closed the folder, slipped it into a leather bag. My blood turned electric. What merger? I whispered. Noah's eyes widened. He didn't know either. Ethan made a call. She took the bait. Yes. Joey. She opened the storage unit. Pause. Yes, I'll handle it. Tonight. Handle it. He meant me. My nails dug into the crate. I wanted to lunge at him, tear him apart. Only Noah's hand on my arm kept me grounded. Ethan's footsteps moved toward the exit. His silhouette crossed a slice of moonlight, tall, confident, unbothered by the corpse he'd left behind or the sister he planned to add to the list. When he was gone, Noah exhaled. You didn't know, he whispered. No. He's deeper in this than your father ever imagined. I shook, not from fear, something colder, a clarity I'd never felt. Cut scene. We approached the table again, but the folder was gone. No evidence left except a faint outline in dust. Noah slammed his fist on the metal. We were seconds too late. I rubbed my temples. Why drug him? Why not pressure him legally? Because Frank was about to block the AMC merger, Noah said. Permanent injunction. He had proof AMC was laundering through offshore accounts. Your father wanted to expose it. That exposure would ruin Ethan. So Ethan killed him. I don't know, but he benefited the most. A gust of wind banged the warehouse door. I jerked. My breath hitched. Paranoia settled over me like a second skin. Someone had watched me since the will reading. Someone who had access to sealed files. Someone who had my 17-year-old nightmare on camera. Joey, Noah said quietly, your father didn't die because he was weak. He died because he was finally strong enough to stop them. Something inside me cracked open. Not broken, released. I zipped up my jacket. We go after the merger next. Noah hesitated. It's dangerous. So is letting them win. Instead of arguing, he opened his palm. In it, an old brass key. Your father wanted you to have this. What is it? His private vault at Loring Industries. That's where he kept originals. Real wills. Real contracts. Real accounts. My throat tightened. And if Ethan gets there first, he won't. We stepped out into the freezing dock air. The city lights flickered like warning signs. A cargo ship horned in the distance, long, mournful, almost human. Noah locked the warehouse behind us. You realize once we open that vault, he said, there's no turning back. I nodded. Good, he murmured, because what we find in there might change everything. And then it hit me. Madeline didn't just return for business. She returned to finish what she started. I never expected a ballroom to feel like a battlefield. But tonight, under chandeliers and cheap champagne, it did. The Delane Memorial Gala was a show of wealth parading as grief. Guests in tailored suits laughed over hors d'oeuvres. Cameras flashed for charity coverage. And I walked in, black dress, breath shallow, heart in combat mode. Noah at my side, eyes scanning every face like an eagle stalking prey. One of Dad's favorite lines echoed in my head. The crowd applauds the living. Only the betrayed see the real masks. I saw 1,000 masks tonight. Madeline Kane stood at the center, her smile sharp as broken glass. She raised a glass to someone and turned just enough for me to see Ethan. The way they looked at each other wasn't regret. It was calculation. Calculators never have conscience. Noah leaned in, whispering through the music. We get evidence. Tonight. Then we burn this place down. I nodded once. Head clear. I'd waited for this. Cut scene. I approached Madeline with slow steps. She noticed. Perfect posture. Perfect smile. Joey, she said, voice smooth like silk over steel. What a surprise. You don't look surprised, I replied. Funny how that works. Her laugh was controlled. Everyone here mourns differently. Mourning doesn't usually involve laundering, Madeline. Her eyes flickered, just for a heartbeat. Then nothing. No need for theatrics, she said. Your father chose his path, and now you should choose yours. I didn't answer. My jaw tightened. Behind us, guests were oblivious, clinking glasses to a future none of them could escape without a price. Care for a tour? She offered. Let me show you the donor ledger. Quite impressive. I followed her like a fox trailing a hen. Every step calculated. In the donor's room, glass walls, framed certificates, Madeline turned. Isn't it remarkable, she said, how legacy can be rewritten with a single signature? Camera-like flash in my mind. Her smile dropped into a smirk the way a curtain falls. Then she leaned in. They say trust is earned, but around here loyalty is bought. That was the distraction. Reveal. I didn't need her ledger. Under the stack of framed donation slips was a tablet left unlocked. The login screen flashed. AMC Capital Audit Report. My gut slammed. Madeline said, You'll never win using data no one's authorized. I didn't let her finish. I grabbed the tablet. The screen loaded. Multiple tabs open. One read. Offshore transfer schedule. Another. Internal audit override. Under override. Transaction 9981X. Nolan C. Delane Freight Group. 642,000. April 8th. Unauthorized. My breath hitched. Before I could digest a click. Camera. Ours. Hidden. Filming us. Madeline's face fell. Clever, she said, but not clever enough. Glass shattered near us. Security flanked the doorway with radios and flashlights. We need you to come with us, a guard said. There's been a security breach. I glanced at Noah. He didn't flinch. Inventory of tension rising. Unauthorized access. Tablet missing. A ledger tampered. Madeline raised her hands like a politician in crisis. Clearly a mistake. But security wasn't listening. Noah stepped forward. Calm. Controlled. Check the cameras. Not her. Us. The guard hesitated. And on that beat, another twist pulled the rug. From behind the crowd came a voice I never thought I'd hear here. Mr. Loring's tablet was assigned to Mr. Delane specifically. The room froze. Ethan. Slow motion moment. Madeline inhaled. Eyes locked on him. Ethan's face was unreadable. I'm sure this is all a misunderstanding, he continued. But corporate policy is clear. Security moved in. Noah grabbed my arm. We need out. Now. I forced a smile at Ethan, ice and guile. Policy didn't stop him from transferring millions overseas. Ethan didn't blink. And then someone else spoke. A quiet voice, but enough to split silence like a bullet. Mr. Loring amended the will 3 days before his death. This document is verified. Hands swirled to the entrance. Leo Carter stood there, file folder in hand. The room's energy dropped into a pit of confusion. Leo read the room like a dealer counts cards. Ethan, he said, you do realize making this public also makes you liable for obstruction? Ethan's face twitched. I watched him crumble in microseconds. A security guard stepped between us. The crowd parted like blood through water. The tablet buzzed in my jacket pocket. I didn't wait. I slipped out, breath heavy, feet pounding down marble steps. Noah right behind. Did you get it? He asked. I pulled out the tablet. No, I said. I pushed one file. A video. Slow motion, silent at first. My father on camera. Clear. Direct. Ethan, this account was never authorized by me. His voice cracked, familiar. Stop this. You're destroying the family. Dad's eyes were steady. Then the camera panned. A second figure. Not Ethan. Not Madeline. Someone else. Someone wearing Dad's ring. And smiling. The screen went black. I stood there, breath gone, eyes wide. Someone else killed him. And I just saw their face. No one knew it yet. But I did. And they will know me now. The courtroom was packed. Cameras. Recorders. Phones pointed like rifles. I stood in the middle, heartbeat pounding like a war drum. Ethan sat at the defense table, face pale. Madeline beside him, smirking like a shark with a cut on its fin. Leo Carter stood to the side, silent. The ledger was on the judge's bench, open. Evidence I hadn't expected to see out in the open. This was it. The prosecutor called my name. Every eye in the room tracked me. My breath hitched. I thought of something Dad used to say. Truth is a blade. Only when it's drawn do you see who bleeds. I took the stand. Short answers. Sharp. Controlled. Then the prosecutor played the video. Black and white. Static hum. Dad's voice. Clear. Ethan, this account was never authorized by me. The room froze. Ethan's knuckles turned white. The camera panned. Hidden figure. Another voice. Not his. Not Madeline's. Someone I'd never expected. The video cut. Whispers ricocheted like bullets. The judge leaned forward. Where did you obtain this? I swallowed. Storage Unit 146. That file is real. And the person on video with my father is, I hesitated. Camera flesh. Heart in my throat. Noah Quaid. Gasps. Noah. My ally. My ghost in the wires. The judge banged the gavel. Explain. I pointed to the defense table. While Ethan and Ms. Kane orchestrated financial manipulation, Mr. Quaid was there when my father amended his will. He was present when Frank Delane confronted them. Noah didn't flinch. Calm. Bare truth. I was there, Noah said, voice steady, to protect Mrs. Delane, to ensure Mr. Delane's legal rights were upheld. The judge stared. Protect or manipulate? Noah met his gaze. Your Honor, The deceased's final wishes were hidden. I documented them because I suspected foul play. I trusted Miss Delane would uncover the truth. Silence. Then, security stepped forward. Formal cuffs. Not for Noah. For Ethan and Madeline. They were under arrest. Ethan's face contorted. Madeline's smirk vanished. Their empire unraveling with every echo of those words. I stepped off the stand. Out of the gallery. Into the hall. The prosecutor caught up. "You did good," she said. "Not soft. Not congratulatory. Just real." I nodded. Outside, sunlight split through glass. I breathed. Hard. Relief tasted like ash and freedom. Truth had been drawn like a blade, and it had cut deep. Later, in my father's old office, vault unlocked, files stacked neatly, I scanned the originals. Multiple wills. AMC capital movements exposed. Contracts proving laundering. Evidence beyond the courtroom. I thought of Dad's line again. "You don't fear truth. You fear what it reveals about you." Maybe that was it. Not the lies. Not the betrayal. But the way truth made us confront ourselves. Noah stood nearby. No cuffs. No esmirks. Just quiet. "Why help me?" I asked. He looked at me like someone who carries unseen weight. "Because your father once helped me, when no one else would. Calls it human currency." I blinked. Human currency. Expensive. Rare. I tucked the last file into a secure Delane archive. A judge would sort legal ramifications. But the narrative had changed. Justice wasn't blind here. It was deliberate. I walked into the hallway. Reporters lunged with flashbulbs like muzzle fire. "Ms. Delane, will you take over the company? Will you pardon your brother? Is Madeline guilty?" I shut the door behind me. For the first time in days, I was alone with silence. Then a thought. Not revenge. Not power. Responsibility. I stepped outside. Wind biting. People milling. Phones lit like stars in daylight. I remembered something else Dad said once. A legacy is not what you inherit. It's what you leave behind. I wasn't just inheriting documents or money. I was inheriting a chance to rebuild, to make right what was broken, to turn an empire of secrecy into an institution of transparency, to prove that legacy isn't blood, it's action, and I intended to act. Late afternoon shadows stretched long across the plaza. Noon had passed. Justice was just beginning. I squared my shoulders, walked forward, not as the girl they underestimated, not as the sister they betrayed, but as someone who had rewritten the meaning of family, truth, and power forever. And when I looked back once, just once, the future didn't look like shadows anymore.